Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It is Brianna, aka Hooked by Brianna, and today I'll be showing y'all how to make this gorgeous crochet maxi dress. It's pretty simple. It builds up in about a week or so if you really try, and I think it's perfect for the spring and summer seasons, especially because this uses bamboo yarn, which as you can see, it's super flowy. Love the way it drapes, and you're gonna look great once you make this dress for yourself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this video. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with anyone you think may want to make their own crochet maxi dress. So for materials, you will need this bamboo yarn. I use about 5 skeins of this, but it really depends on how long you make your dress and what size you're making it for. This is the Truboo bamboo yarn by Lionbrand, and this is perfect for any summer project, and I really love how cooling it actually is when it's hot outside, and it actually has a really nice drape to it, which you can see in the dress. And here's the label if you want to see that. And then for the crochet hooks, I use a 5mm, which is the blue hook, and I also use a 3.25, which is the pink. I forgot to show that I do use the 1.75mm hook as well, but really you could work with 1 or 2, you just need to change up your tension. And then I have these stitch markers so I know where to place my increases, and then I have this yarn needle for weaving in ends, a pair of scissors for cutting of course, and then we have this measuring tape. Alright, so first you want to make a slip knot, and you want to make a chain long enough to stretch around your hips, and I also learned you should probably make it wide enough to stretch around your shoulders as well, because that is my problem area. I always have so much trouble trying to get the dress over my shoulders, so please make sure it stretches over your shoulders too. And I try to do this chain pretty loosely. I mean, it doesn't really matter how loose or tight you make it as long as you do meet those measurements, but the tighter you make it, the heavier it'll be, probably the more yarn it'll take up, and the looser it is, the more meshy it'll be. Of course, the dress is a bit see-through, so just keep that in mind. Now my chain is long enough to stretch over my hips, and you're just going to make sure your chain is straight, and you're going to go to your beginning chain because you want to slip stitch the end and the beginning together. Sorry this is out of focus, hopefully you know how to do that. But yeah, you'll just insert your hook into the first chain and then do a slip stitch, and that way it will make it a loop because we will be working in a circle for the top and the bottom. First we're going to be starting off with the bottom of the skirt, by the way, and then I like to do the top afterwards. But after you slip stitch that together, you want to make a chain of 3. This will count as a double crochet, and then you're going to want to place 1 double crochet in every stitch until you reach back to the beginning of the row. So I always struggle when I first do my double crochet, so bear with me. And it's kind of hard to work with bamboo yarn at times because it does split. But yeah, you're just going to place a double crochet all the way around. I'm just going to show me doing a few of them, and then I will cut to when I am finished. Alright, so now we made it to the end of the row, and I'm just going to slip stitch at the top of that chain 3 we started off with. That's how you're going to close every row. And then next we're going to chain up 3. That is how you will start every row. And then now we need to find the sides of the dress so we can know where to place our increases and our stitch markers. So I just like to eyeball it. I just fold it in half with the chain of 3 in the center, and then I place a stitch marker on both sides of the dress. Here's me just struggling trying to line it up. But yeah, I did do my starting chain kind of small, so that's why I have so many chains and stitches, but I do change that off camera after a while. That's why mine is still see-through, so don't worry if you do a lot of chains. It won't be as see-through as my dress. But here I am just placing in my stitch markers, and yeah, that's all you have to do. So now whenever you are doing your double crochets in the row, you will just take the stitch marker out and place a increase where the stitch markers are, and then you will replace the stitch marker in your new increase. So here I am approaching the first stitch marker, and I am just going to show y'all what I did if you're more of a visual learner and you can't really understand what I mean when I just say it. So I'm just going to keep crocheting. I like to remove the stitch marker after I do the increase just so I don't lose my place. And I just place 2 double crochets in that same stitch, and then I take the stitch marker out afterwards, and then I put the stitch marker back where it's supposed to be. I like to do an extra double crochet or 2 just so the stitches don't come out while I am moving the stitch marker from the previous row, but I don't like to do too many extra stitches or I'll lose count. So here I am at the end of my first increase row, and again we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that we start off each row with. And I did turn my camera brightness down a little, hopefully y'all can see the stitches better. I'm so sorry for using a bright yarn but yeah. And then you're just going to chain 3, turn your work again, and repeat row 2 over and over again until the bottom of your dress is as long as you want it to be. I made my silver dress shorter than the blue one. I like it longer more. I didn't realize I made it shorter, so just make sure you keep trying it on as you're making it so you know how long it is. Bamboo yarn does tend to stretch down a bit, so you may not need to make it as long as you think you do. So I'm not going to just keep showing y'all me doing the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to do the rest of the length of the skirt off camera. I like to continue doing increase rows until the bottom of the dress measures about 35 inches. And if the dress isn't long enough, I like to just add extra rows with no increases if needed. And then I will show y'all how I end off the bottom of the dress. So at the bottom of the dress, I just do a row of slip stitches, and then I just chain up 1 and tie off my work, and then I weave in the ends. And next we can go ahead and start on the top. Alright, so now we are going to start on the top of the dress, and I'm going to grab my 1.75mm hook. Again, this is optional. It's just easier for me to have a tighter tension because my hips aren't the same size as my waist, so sizing down in the hook or having a tighter tension will help you like reach that waist measurement better. So I created a slip knot on my hook again, and then I pulled it through the first stitch I made, which is where my tail is in the middle of the dress. I chained up 3 to prepare to do another row of double crochets again, and we're going to do about 7 to 8 rows of just doing 1 double crochet stitch in every row, no increases, and slip stitching into the top of the beginning chain 3 every row. And I will show y'all how to do the split for the lace up back afterwards, because the less rows you do, the more low the opening will be in the back. I personally don't prefer it to be super low, so that's why I do 7 to 8 rows. So it really depends on your preference. If you want it to be a really low back, then you could even just do 4 additional rows, 5 additional rows. Again, it's up to you. Trying on the dress while you're making it is definitely a plus when it comes to figuring out the shaping of it. So now I completed a total of 7 rows with connecting them with the slip stitch at the end, and now for this 8th row I'm not going to connect it with a slip stitch. I'm just going to go into the last stitch, and then I'm going to chain up 3, turn my work, and do another row of double crochet. And this way we will have this open back that we will lace up in the end. And yeah, so I'm just going to do that for about 8 rows, but again, it's based off of your body, your anatomy. I do as many rows as it takes to reach the bottom of my boobs where I need to start the solid part of the top. And you can just go ahead and start the solid part if you want, if you don't want the mid section to be a little meshy as well. So just depends on your preference, but I will be doing this for about 8 rows. Alright, so here I am, and now I'm going to get ready to start the solid part of the top, which is just single crochet and slip stitches alternating. But first I'm going to count how many I did total, which is about 8. And then in total for the whole top, it's about 15 stitches. So just for reference, again, everyone will probably have different amount of rows based off of tension and body anatomy. But I'm going to go ahead and switch to my bigger hook, which is the 3.5, but I did realize I was supposed to switch to my 5mm. Either one works. It's just the 5mm will build up super quickly, but either way it will still be solid. Alright, so now I turn my work and I'm just going to place one slip stitch into every stitch. It is kind of hard to start out, but you will get the hang of it. And if you are on the wrong side, like the inside of the top, you will start with a single crochet, or I would just recommend to add or subtract an additional or less than a double crochet row, just so you are working on the right side, because it will have a different pattern on both sides. So make sure you are working with the right side facing you when you are doing the slip stitch row, because it does matter. Alright, so now I reached the end of my slip stitch row, and I'm just going to turn my work and I'm going to chain up one, because now I'm going to be doing single crochets. So I like to squish the fabric together so I can see these two loops that I'm going into. I am going to show you a close-up so you know exactly where to place your single crochets. So if you look closely at the stitches, you see that it kind of resembles a chain. So you're going to go under these two loops, which kind of look like a V, and that's where you want to place your single crochet stitches. So I'm just going to find that space in every stitch and place a single crochet there. And then next I will show you how to start the next row and what you're supposed to alternate in between for the rest of the top. Alright, so now I finished my row of single crochets and we're going to go back to our slip stitch row. Again, you just turn your work and then place one slip stitch into every stitch. And you want to make sure you're doing this on the side facing you, the right side facing you. And you want to do your single crochet rows on the inside of the top. And you just want to continue alternating between the slip stitch and single crochet row until your top reaches right under your armpit, about, because that's as high as you can make it with this style of dress. So again, the amount of rows you do depends on your personal size, but can take really long if you're using the 3.5mm hook like me, or it can be a bit shorter of a time commitment if you're using a 5mm hook. So I will come back once I finish doing these rows so I can show y'all how to clean it up and do the lace up part. And for reference, this is what the wrong side should start looking like, and then the right side should kind of resemble a knit look. So yeah. And for reference, this is what the 5mm hook top looks like. Again, the stitches are a lot bigger, so it builds up a lot faster. So I definitely recommend doing the 5mm, but you can still get the same job done with a 3.5mm hook. But yeah, the stitches are just a little smaller, so if you like it smaller, perfect for you. Alright, so for the straps, I measured about 4 inches from the edge. I got this measurement by putting the top up against me while I had a tank top on, and I just marked the spots where the straps fell on the tank top on my crochet piece. So that's what I like to do. And make sure you stretch it out too, because it does stretch a little bit and you don't want to make it too loose. So then I just did a slip knot and I inserted my hook into that 4-inch spot, and I just want to make a really long chain and also leave a long tail for sewing in later, because sewing this in, well, weaving this in will be really important because of how small the string is. And yeah, I'm just going to make a chain of about 500, but I would recommend even doing more because 500 was kind of pushing it for me. So I would recommend doing about a chain of 700, depending on what hook size you're using too. But anyways, make the chain as long as you can. And this is used for not only the strap, but for the lace up as well. That's why it's important to make this super long. So after you make the strap as long as you need it to be, I like to, of course, add an extra chain and then just tie off, and again leaving a long tail for weaving in later. And you want to do that on both sides of the top. So I did 4 inches from the edge on this side, so I'll do 4 inches on the edge from the other side as well. And I will come back once I finish crocheting these really long chains. So at this point, I'm going to grab my yarn needle and insert my end into that so I can weave in this end of the strap and make it as sturdy as possible. And if you are uncomfortable with the chain alone being your strap, then you can go down the row with a slip stitch so at least it's extra sturdy. But I'm fine with just a chain, so I'm just going to weave in and out all around in multiple directions just so the strap is as sturdy as possible and this end won't just come undone. Alright, so now that we're done with working with the straps for now, I'm going to insert my hook and do a row of single crochets along this opening just to make it cleaner. So I like to just place one single crochet into every single crochet row from the solid part, and then I like to place 2 single crochets in every double crochet row. So I'm just going to show y'all that. Again, you don't have to do the same method I do, just make sure you do equal amounts of single crochets on each side. It doesn't really matter where you put them as long as it's even. Alright, so I finished my first row of single crochets and I'm just going to chain up one and turn my work and do one more row of single crochets. So I'll have a total of 2 single crochet rows just to close up the back a little bit more and to help me know where to place my lace up string. Alright, so now I'm going to show y'all how to lace up the back of the top. So I'm going to grab the strap from the right side and I'm going to pull that through to the top left side of the top. So I'm going to insert my hook into this top single crochet and pull through this yarn. I like to weave in my ends afterwards just because it's easier to pull the chain through, but if it's already weaved in, that's fine. You can still get it through with your hook. And then we're going to do the same thing with the left strap. We're going to pull the left strap into the top right part of the back of the top, and we're going to insert my hook to that side and pull it through. And at this point you just want to decide how much space you want in between each crisscross of the lace up. I usually like to do about 5 stitches in between, so I just count 5 down from where my chain is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that 6th chain I'm just going to pull through the chain on the left side. You want to make sure you're pulling it into the opposite side so we have a crisscross nice lace up look on the entire back. So now I'm going to grab the chain that is on the right side and I'm going to pull that through 5 stitches down on the other side, and you just want to keep doing that for the entire lace up section until you reach the bottom. So again, I just count down 5 chains from my last insert and I place the new chain into the 6th one after that, if that makes sense. So you just want to keep doing that, and I will show y'all once I finish mine. So here's what the back of my dress is looking like. As you can see, we have the little crisscross and I have enough string left over to loosen the top up so I can actually put it on. Again, I wish that my strap was a little bit longer because it is a little difficult for me to get it on. So the longer you make your chains, the better. And it's a long dress anyway, so it's fine if the chain is extra long once it is actually on and tightened. And then at this point, I finally weave in the ends to my super long chains, and I just like to hold the chain and I just weave in and out. Yeah, I just weave in and out, going up and down the chain, going into the center of the V's. and then I just cut off the excess yarn. So that is all for this Skims inspired crochet maxi dress. I hope this was easy to understand. I tried to make it as simple as possible, and I can't wait to see all of your creations. Happy crocheting. Have a wonderful summer, even though it's still spring, but it's summer for me, and peace.